To create a Google form, the first thing you want to do is go into your Google Drive and go into the folder where you want the form to exist. That's just the best practice. You can make it anywhere and put it there later. I usually start out where I want it to be just so I don't have to do it later, and it kind of keeps my Google Drive clean. Once you get into that folder, go ahead to the New button and go down to More and over to Google Forms. When the Google form first opens, it's untitled. You right here, right away, just go ahead and give it a title. Having a hard time typing. And then when you click up here, it'll give it the same name that you gave it down here. You can change it if you want it to look different in your Google Drive. One of the things that I suggest is if you number your quizzes or your forms, they'll appear chronologically rather than alphabetically. So in the order that you actually used them or gave them. So, and once you put the number up here, it doesn't show up in the form itself. Beneath the title is where there's a room for description. So if you want the students or the person receiving the form to have any specific information, you can put it right here. Typically, the first question is last name, first name, or full name, whatever you want, just because our email addresses are numbers. So unless you've memorized all the students' email addresses, it's kind of hard to keep track. Then you need to come over here and make it required. I'm going to go ahead and add another question. I'm going to show you how you can make it required automatically. So right here, this little mini menu is where you create your next question. So click there, and we're going to make this one first name. And for those of you teaching middle school, or high school, you would click again, possibly put the period that the students are in. And then you want to make a new section, because if it's a quiz, you may want to shuffle the question order. If you don't make a different section, then it's going to shuffle the last name, first name, period within the question. So it could be answering 5 questions and then it asks for their last name, and then another couple questions and a first name. So rather than that happening, we're going to go ahead and create a new section for the questions themselves. And that's this last one right here on the mini menu. So even if it shuffles these, it doesn't matter. But when it shuffles within the quiz itself, it gets kind of weird. So we're going to go ahead and title this section quiz. Again, you can add descriptions if you need to. And you would go over here and add your first quiz question. And then where it says option, that's where you're going to put the first answer possibility. I usually put the right answer and then I add the rest and move the right answer wherever I want it to appear. You can either click on add option or just use enter return on your keyboard, and it'll keep dropping down and offering you more places to put answers. So let's go ahead and spell this correctly with my keys on the right, fingers on the right keys. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and see this. This allows me to move the answer where I want it to show. So I'm going to have the answer right there. And then you would just go ahead and add another question by clicking on this little mini menu, and we'll explore these other options later. One thing I want to point out is you'll notice up here the artificial intelligence predicted it was going to be a short answer. But when I got here, it also predicted it was multiple choice. But let's say I had more than one right answer for this. I wanted them to select all that apply. So instead of multiple choice, I would have to select check boxes. That's the only option for the students to be able to select more than one. Now, if you do those kind of questions, it does not give partial credit if they only get part of it correct. It's either right or it's wrong. They either check all that apply that are correct and get full credit, or they get 0 credit. So just be aware of that. Okay, so now I have my question. I can go and add another question and just keep going the same way. What I want to show you is how do you make it so that this is a required. So right up here next to your little image or your initial, you'll see 3 dots. We call them scoops or lots of different things. So click on the scoops, and down here where it says preferences, click on that, and then you would click make every question required. That way, if you don't have a question that's required, you just uncheck that, because most questions you're going to require. And right here, you can also set it up so that there's a default point value if you always have a default point value for your questions. And you can always collect email addresses and then uncheck that if you don't want to for particular situations. So that's how you do that, and stop by for more tutorials.